who got up again this morning after a fantastic Mystic Note Cafe. Our musical entertainer. Thank you so much. Awesome evening, and I'm sure you're going to be seeing more of some of those amazing people here on Sunday mornings. What a treat to see all that talent just overflowing. I also, for those of you who don't know, we do have a Science of Mind study group. We have a study class between services. If you have never been to it, it was kick-ass this morning. So if you're not there, you missed out, okay? Okay, well, maybe not everybody agreed with that, but I thought it was. So, and if you don't come to that Science of Mind study group between services, remember that there's meditation between services across the way. And so if you just want a half an hour of spiritual deepening and quiet and sitting in that luxury of group meditation, which is always so wonderful, make sure you come at 10 o'clock and go across the hall in the STEM room upstairs.
Petra?
Yes?
There's also fun hanging out in Hackett Hall during that time?
There's also fun hanging out in Hackett Hall during that time. There's a show, or you can go to the bookstore. Good. All right. Thanks. So, we'd like to welcome any of you who are here for the first time. If this is your first Sunday with us, we'd love to invite the ushers to come forward. They have a gift for you. So if you...
Hi, I'm Petra Weldes, Senior Minister of the Center for Spiritual Living in Dallas, and we're delighted that you found us here on the web. You can find our Sunday services on our website by every Wednesday, and we love that you can look at us online and explore these spiritual teachings. Feel free to explore our archives. It goes back a number of years with lots of special topics and amazing speakers. You can also sign up for our email news, My Daily Words, and my blog, Spiritual Living with Dr. Petra. If you're looking for a spiritual community, come visit us. Or if you're just in Dallas, drop on by. We'd love to give you a hug. Welcome home.
With me, and we'll lead in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin. is no life I know that compares with your imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be.
Lovely assistant music director, Robin Hackett. Thank you, Andrew, Jonathan, and Matt. And I know Matt was here last week, but I wasn't here last week, Matt. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you. Yay. All right. Pure imagination. And thank you, Sherry, for the beautiful prayer this morning. Also, we are constantly confronted with life not being the way that we imagine it to be, or the challenge that we see in the world. And the Science Mind, the Centers for Spiritual Living, we have what's called the Global Heart Vision, and we actually imagine a life that works. Starts out with we envision a world free of hunger, homelessness, fear, war, and disenfranchisement of any kind. Especially envision a world that works for everyone. The only way to envision that is to imagine it, imagine the possibilities of it. How many people do you know that have said, oh, well, it's human nature, we're always going to have war? Not if we imagine it differently. But if we imagined that we weren't afraid of each other. But if we imagined that we could see beyond us and them, and could just see difference as a unique way in which the divine expresses itself. What an extraordinary gift that would be. And it is our ability to imagine it differently that moves us forward. You see, we say we co-create our life with the divine, and that we're the place, we're the delivery system for the love of the divine. We're the delivery system for the way that the infinite one is expressing itself in this world. We're co-creating that reality with the divine. And if we never imagine something new, well, what are we going to do? We're just going to keep creating the same thing over and over and over again. So, creating something new in life, a world that works for us and a world that works for everyone, starts with our ability to imagine the possibility. And if we live in an infinite universe, well, there are actually infinite possibilities. So that's what we're talking about this morning, our infinite imagination and the possibility of that. I want to start out with the reading for today from our annual theme, the Joyous Living Journal, and then this is entitled Infinite Imagination. One of the most amazing things about being a human being is that you can imagine something that you've never seen or experienced before. Kennedy imagined us going to the moon. Einstein imagined that there must be a better way to make light than with fire. Neither of these things had ever been done before, so it was through the power of imagination that the field of our human experience was expanded, and so many other inventions and ideas came about. What is so amazing is that you can imagine anything, everything, way beyond what you are currently experiencing. I have a dream, that beautiful speech. I have a dream, imagining a world that is different from the one that we live in ourselves. This is the cornerstone of beginning to change our own life experience and to change our contribution to the world and to actually see the world transformed, healed and blessed and living out of that place of unity and wholeness and oneness that we seek for ourselves. It begins with our ability to imagine. Now, it's really extraordinarily interesting to me how many of us struggle with imagination. And so I just want to start with this little video clip, a little moment about what imagination is.
Creativity is taking two things which existed before and connecting them in an entirely new way. In our natural state, we spend about half our life daydreaming. Parts of the brain that normally don't interact or engage in this elaborate crosstalk, it's often where we have our best ideas. That's why when we've hit the wall, we don't know what else to do. When it seems impossible, that's when you should take a break, take a long walk, find a way to relax yourself. Creativity isn't just a singular process. You can't just study your brain in a vat and say, aha, that is the muscle of the imagination right there. That is the source. We also talk about cultures and environments. Why do some cities invent so many more patents per capita? Why are some companies so much more innovative? What is the ideal way to work together as a group? The instructions you give people can influence by a factor of 500% how many good ideas they come up with. And even incidental factors like the color of paint on a wall can profoundly influence how the imagination works. We can't help but come up with new ideas. We can't help but see something that's imperfect and want to come up with something better. Creativity is our natural state.
Creativity is our natural state. We can't help but see something that is imperfect and want to go beyond it. That is the power of our own imagination. The ability to see something and want to go beyond it, to experience it differently. And we're actually, let's demonstrate. So I need 4 volunteers from the congregation, preferably people who didn't volunteer last time. So I need 4 volunteers to just hop on up here and help me out. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Oh, we'll have 5. Come on up. It's all right. 5 is good. Come on up here. All right. Good? Okay. Ready? Okay. So we're going to create a poem. I'm going to start, and you're just going to add a stanza or line to the poem, okay? And everything starts with a love in our heart.
So it's important for us to listen to our heart.
Art is what matters most.
And I don't mind seeing that ghost.
Trust for guidance in every Facebook wall post.
We're actually going to need a microphone. I want everybody to be able to hear you guys. Okay, so, okay, fabulous. Valerie, you start. Anything, any topic, any Sunday morning topic. Start a poem.
Okay. The rain fills my heart with love, which overflows to all.
Let the sun shine on your soul.
And let your soul shine on.
And may you be blessed beyond infinity.
And learn to be an expression of divinity.
Even if it's raining. So, the very first tip to improving your imagination is you have to learn to make it up. Okay? Really, honest to God, right? Beautiful poetry right here before your eyes, made up. So that's what we do. And you can make it up. Creativity, you can make it up if you're going to write a song or write a poem, but the truth is we're doing it all the time. When Angie and I made up the Spiritual Living Radio Network, we were making it up. We decided we needed something, and so we made it up. Your business invention, your new idea, the new place you want to live, the thing you want to do, right? We start by making it up. That's the place we start. Okay, now, I just need a moment of huddling. Could you mute my microphone for just a second? All right. turn you back on again. Okay, so let's click right here, and let's click right here, just switch, okay? I'm gonna stand, no, you're good. Oh yeah, switch, you wanna switch. Okay, so you get to start.
I see beyond anything I ever could.
I try not to do things unless I know they're good.
Okay, I don't think this is how this poem really is supposed to go. Yeah, now, we have to start over. Okay, so just start over, please.
Every day is a new beginning.
Wow, this is so amazing.
I have your thought.
I'm just not really very good at this. I am just not creative. I can't believe I have to do something now. And they're all so much better than I am. And, I just can't think of anything. Yes? All right. So the second thing about after making it up is you have to say yes. You have to actually say yes to the process. You have to actually, you have to go with it, right? Well, so what happened when I stood here and said, oh no, that's not how it goes? What happened? Like a steel gate, right? And it just shut the whole process down. And what happens if I walk off and think, oh, I can't do it, What do? Right? I take myself completely out of even the possibility of participating. And yet you could see that there was a moment where people had to buck themselves up and it's like, okay, but I'm going to participate. And did we not create two really beautiful poems up here? Give these lovely flowers. Thank you so much. Okay, so you've got to make it up. You have to start by making it up. And the second thing is we have to say yes to the possibilities. We have to start exploring them and saying yes to them and playing with them and letting them unfold and seeing what's possible. And not just immediately start shutting it down. Okay? So make it up. For God's sakes, imagination, have fun with it. Make it up. And then say yes to the possibilities. Okay. The third tip. Lateral thinking. The third tip is lateral thinking. I bet you were wondering what that was going to be, weren't you? Doing it differently. Lateral thinking. Lateral thinking is turning from the side, moving to the side, and looking at it from another angle, looking at it from a different side, from a different view. Now, traditionally, this is called out-of-the-box thinking. The problem is that most of us think we can't think out of the box. We don't know actually where the box is. We can't even imagine ourselves out on the other side because we have no idea what that looks like. But we can actually imagine standing to the side and saying, well, how would I look at this differently? Well, what if I looked at it from this point of view? What would that be like? Now, you'll notice lateral thinking, out-of-the-box thinking, actually begins with a question. What would that be like if I stood over here and I looked at it from another point of view? If I looked at it from the point of view of my employees as opposed to the point of view of the boss, or if I looked at it from the point of view of process as opposed to product, if I looked at it from the point of view of love as opposed to fear, you see, what would it be like? This question causes us to actually stand to the side and look at it differently. It's called lateral thinking. And it begins with a question. And this is the thing that's so extraordinary. There's lots of new study being done in the neuroscience field that talks about how powerful affirmations are. We've even saw a film clip in a number of talks ago on neuroplasticity, right? That when you affirm something, you're literally creating a new groove in your brain. Okay, that's good. And we could affirm, I see it differently. I look at this thing differently. And what happens is sometimes a part of our brain goes, really? You do? I don't think so. And it can be challenging. And so what they're discovering is that we can speed up the whole affirmation process if we turn our affirmation into a question. What would it look like? What does it look like from this side? I wonder how it would be if I saw it differently. What happens, do you see, is that our brain is designed to answer a question. We are physiologically designed to answer the question that we pose to our brains. And so, simply affirming something, it's great. We can build a new neural pathway over the time period of saying the affirmation over and over and over again. But if we will simply pose a question to our brain, it will run around and look for answers. Basically, it will make it up. It's designed to do that. And it will start making up answers and possibilities. And if we're in the process of saying yes, we can actually entertain them. Well, yes, that's possible. Well, yes, that's possible. Well, yes, that's an interesting idea. And it doesn't mean we have to do them all, but we begin the exercise of opening ourselves up to a new way of thinking about it. And we can engage in lateral thinking by beginning with a question. How might I see this differently? How could I look at it from a different point of view? And our brain will absolutely answer the question, and we will begin to imagine a new way of seeing it. Now, the next tip is to be curious. And I was very curious about how I was going to demonstrate curiosity. I wonder how I'm going to do that. I wonder what would work. I wonder how it would be if I asked for members of the community to come up here and do a poem with me. Curious, do you think they would take it badly if I said, if I stopped the process? You see, that's being curious. That's what being curious means. I wonder. That's the best way to begin to open up our imagination with something that we maybe feel closed about or uncertain about how to proceed. We could simply ask, we could simply begin the conversation with ourselves with, I wonder what that would be like. To be curious about possibilities also begins to dramatically increase our ability to access our imagination. This is probably my favorite one, play. In the New Testament, it says, "And a little child shall lead them." We must become like little children. It's astonishing to me how often we say, "I am not creative." Well, I can't, and even worse than that, the killer sentence, I just can't imagine it any different. Okay, no show of hands. I know, we've all done it. Well, I just can't imagine how this is going to work out. I just can't imagine it. So what are we stuck with? We're stuck with the way that we know it to be. That's what we're stuck with. So to be able to play, to be able to access our imagination, we open up to the play. Now every single one of us has this skill. There's not a person in this room who doesn't have this skill of imagination. I don't care if you're left brain or right brain or abstract or concrete or audio or visual, I don't care, anything. Every one of us has the ability to imagine. You know how I know? Is there any person in the room who did not play make-believe as a kid? Not a hand. Every one of us played make-believe as a kid, didn't we? One of my favorite make-believe games was when I think I was 5 or 6 years old, and I was so happy at Christmas I got my cowgirl outfit. I got my little skirt, my little boots, my little vest, my little hat, and my little hoppity horse. Oh my God, we played Cowboys and Indians all summer. It was fabulous. I loved it. I loved making up that I was riding on the plains on my horse and having a great time. All you have to do is put on a cape. Wonder Woman! Remember that? Yeah. Okay, some of you are too young to remember that, sorry. I remember that. I just had to put 2 gold cuffs and a cape on. I was Wonder Woman! Yeah, I know you had your favorite superhero character, and I know you put your own cape on. You see, we are designed for this. Some people will say it is this faculty of imagination that actually makes us Homo sapiens. It is the thing that actually makes us Homo sapiens. It's the ability to imagine something beyond what we are currently experiencing. Imagine something outside of the realm of the concrete physical reality that's in front of us. One of my favorite things to do when Jason was little, we would commandeer big giant appliance boxes. So one year we built a castle. It had a drawbridge, and it had a turret, and it had a place where Jason's head would peek out, and he could be the king, and we made a sword for him out of cardboard, and we decorated it, and he had his castle. So he had his castle until it wore out. And then we got the refrigerator box. Oh my God, what a coup that was. We got the refrigerator box. We made a pirate ship out of the refrigerator box. It sat in the living room for months. The broom as the mast, and the sheet as the sail, and it had a flap that you could open up, and it had a cannon that came out. Oh my God! And our tools were a kitchen knife that I commandeered with a saw blade, sawing kitchen knife, and duct tape. Those were our tools, and whatever else we could find in the house. My favorite was a box. I think it must have been some kind of a vacuum cleaner or something. It was a box about this big, and about this wide, and maybe about this tall. I cut a hole in it and made wheels on it, and then I used the duct tape and I made straps, and I made him a car. Oh my God, he played with that thing until it fell apart. We had so much fun. What fun, just out of our imagination. And I would say to him, so what does it need? And he would go, it needs wheels. Okay, well, how should we make the wheels? And we would go into the kitchen. Well, let's see. We can find these plastic plates. And we just made it up. And all I ever did with Jason was I just said yes. I told Jason countless stories. We had the Jack stories, the little boy who lived in the cottage, in the cabin by the woods with his mother. And Jack would go on these massive adventures throughout the day because we had a very long drive. I actually lived in the cabin in the woods at the time, and it was a very long drive anywhere. And so, and there was no reception, so I would tell him these stories. And Jack would have adventures. And Jack would come around the corner, and there would be, and I would turn to Jason, well, what's there? And he would say, oh my God, it's a dragon. And I would say, sure enough, oh my God, he turned the corner and there was a dragon. All I ever did was say yes to him. He still remembers those stories today. The opportunity to simply engage in the process. And when we allow ourselves to play, we're opening up that faculty of imagination. And I know we talked about being adults and having our adult spirituality, and but play and make believe and pretend. Truly, there's something so powerful about it. 10 years ago, even longer than that, I guess 13 years ago, I was chair of the core council for our international organization. And we were unrolling a massive reorganization, completely redesigning our international organization and trying to roll that out and bring forth a whole new way of being together as communities and internationally as this the way that we were going to do business together. And I was the chair of the core council, so I was a community spiritual leader. We were charged with bringing this forward. And I would sit in those core council meetings and I would think, I have no earthly idea what to do here. And I would say, well, I'm just going to pretend to be Mike Baker. Mike Baker was a dear friend of mine who knew more about organizational development and group process and the unfolding, emerging of a vision than any person I'd ever met. So I just pretended to be him. Well, I was going to pretend to be Mike Baker. I would open my mouth, and it would be amazing, the insight that would come out. Oh my God, wow. We should do that. We should do that. That was a good idea. I just put on my Mike Baker cape, pretended to be Mike Baker. And over time, the more that I did that, the more I learned, and the better, the more confident I became. So we don't just pretend as kids, we don't just make believe, make it up, we can actually do it as adults. What if we just made it up that we were in a healthy relationship? What if we got into a conversation and we simply imagined and pretended that we were spiritually enlightened? And we spoke from our enlightenment as opposed to from our littleness or our hurt. What if we just imagined that we were actually going to speak from love, even though maybe we didn't necessarily feel like it, we were actually not feeling it at all? What if we just pretended that we were more confident than we actually are, and we simply imagined ourselves to be? It's an extraordinary opportunity for us to experience the possibility that, yes, actually, we could actually come from love. We could actually speak from some place of deeper spiritual enlightenment. We could actually move on our confident self because we're playing with our ability to imagine that we can do it. So our sixth tip for improving our imagination is to feel it. To feel it, to make it real, to be so aware of what's going on in our consciousness, in our imagination, that we actually can experience it. So this is I had the opportunity of going to Orcas Island a week ago. I was there for 4 days, which is outside of Seattle in the San Juans. I was there for 4 days, and then I was at a conference for a week, a Ministers Ongoing Education Conference in Seattle. And so this is a picture that I took on the way to the Anacortes Ferry. Actually, I was waiting for the Anacortes Ferry, and I was enamored by this little tiny chute that was coming out of one of these pylons. There was a whole series of these broken pylons out in the water, and I was enamored by it. So I took this picture, and then I thought, oh my God, this picture is awesome! I love this picture, and I posted it on Facebook. I don't know how many of you saw it. I posted it on Facebook, and I said, yep, sometimes I feel this way. What about you? And a number of people shared, when they looked at that image, what they felt when they saw it. And what was so interesting is every one of them was different. And a dear friend of mine, Leela, she wrote, wow, she wrote, sometimes I feel broken and dead. And sometimes I feel like I'm going to grow and make it happen no matter what. And sometimes I feel that vast expanse of possibility that I'm reaching toward. And sometimes I see that infinite blue of peace and poise in which I'm grounded. Isn't that beautiful? All from one picture. And so we can, in our imagination, do you see, we can make it real. And we can experience it. And we can do that with everything that we look at. We can invite it to become real to us. What is here for us to see or experience. And then the more that we play with it and the more real that we make it, the more we believe it. I used to bring my son here when he was quite young. I would bring him to classes here, and he would literally go to sleep under the table as we were having class. And then he got a little older, he'd sleep on the couch in my office. And then at some point, he was starting to go to school. I think he might have been in second grade. And the reality of it is that's falling to sleep or not going to sleep, as the case may be, and me driving home at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, putting him to bed, and him having to get up in the morning. Well, the truth is he was just getting tired. And it wasn't really serving him in school. And so I started leaving him at home more. And I'll never forget driving out of here one day, 10:30 after a class, and I had this moment, this visceral moment of, something's happened to Jason. And I just had this wave, this intuitive wave that there was something terribly, horribly wrong. And actually, I was so clear that it was really, something was really terrible, I just started to cry. And I raced home, and I cried the whole way home, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And of course, I wheel in the driveway, jump out, and, well, you know, he's sound asleep in his bed. Absolutely nothing going on. That's how powerful our imagination is. And we can fool ourselves. We can think it's intuition, and actually it's just that we're imagining something, but we can actually also use that for good, for powerful. We can really mine our imagination to make it real for us. Like, to really imagine, what would it be like if we walked around in the world where people were not afraid of each other? What if we were able to walk down the street and really imagine that every person we met, no matter what we might have an immediate judgment about, if we could imagine, yes, there's a child of God. There's the divine made manifest. There's love in action. What if we imagined simply being that to the point where it brought tears to our eyes? That's what begins to make it real, that ability to imagine. So these are all ways, all tips that we have to improve our imagination, because the truth is you already have it. You have it, you were born with it. It's a powerful attribute of being a human being. And making it up, saying yes, lateral thinking, being curious, playing and feeling that which we are imagining. These are ways in which we cultivate that ability to imagine something new. And that is the cornerstone of creating a new life experience. Now, the last tip that I want to give you is to hang with creative people. I had the pleasure, after my days at Orcas Island, the reason I was in Seattle was to go to this Ministers Ongoing Education Conference. It's an opportunity, 30 ministers or so to get together, and some of our most successful ministers, they come and they share best practices, and they talk about personal growth as a minister, things that just confronting whatever might be holding us back. And this is my fourth time in the 30 years I've been in the ministry. This is my fourth time going to this conference. It's really more of a seminar. It's really a working seminar. And from 9 in the morning till 9 at night for 4 days, I was in the company of other really amazingly creative people. And we shared, what are you doing in your community, and how are you handling this, and what's going on with that, and what did you do about that, and how did you learn and grow yourself, and all of that creativity, all of that shared around. You see, we all went home so filled with newness, with new possibilities, with new opportunities, with new ideas, because we were hanging around with other creative people. So the final tip here is to spend time with people who have ideas that are in fact different than yours, or who are willing to play with their imagination, or who are entering into the thing that you're doing, but they're entering it in differently. Hanging around with creative people does not mean hanging around with artists, unless you're an artist, right? If you're an artist, well then hang around with other creative artists. But if you're a business person, hang around with creative business people. If you're a minister, hang around with creative ministers. Do you see what I'm saying? So we get this idea that imagination and creativity is somehow relegated to the artistic realm. But it's not. It is the fundamental place we start in co-creating our life with the divine. So imagine. Ernest Holmes says this this is our book of the month, Creative Mind and Success, using the imagination. He says, just imagine yourself surrounded by mind, so plastic, so receptive, that it receives the slightest impression of your thought. Just imagine whatever you think it takes up and executes for you. Just imagine every thought is received and acted upon. Just imagine. Just imagine that you were a divine incarnation of the One, that you are the place where love and light is showing up, that you actually have the creative capacity to make a difference in your own life, and in the world. Just imagine that Spirit is so present, it is as close as your heartbeat and as present as your consciousness. Just imagine and watch your life unfold. Let us pray. Just taking a moment to breathe. Breathe in that world of pure imagination. A world of pure imagination in which anything is possible. This is the realm of the divine. The infinite potential for all things. And it is as we play in that rich, fertile field that we begin to say yes to something. Yes to love. Yes to life. Yes to joy. Yes to peace. Yes to wholeness. We imagine these things and we pull them out of this infinite potential and we say, yes, that. I choose that. Yes, I take that. Yes, I'll have that. Yes, I'll give that to the world. Because we can actually imagine a world that works. A world that is steeped in love and in hope. A world that is filled with peace and joy. Let us this morning collectively imagine that world into being, both in our own lives, across this nation, and around the globe. And so it is.